recording. Looks like we're just missing Chuck, Lou, and Grayson. I'm happy to give Chuck a call real quick if you want. Otherwise, I do think, Susan, you have a quorum to open the meeting. Your call.
Yeah, no, I think we can go ahead.
Okay. Well, welcome to the Housing Advisory Board meeting of November 16th at it's a teleconference, of course. We do have a quorum. The city of Georgetown is committed to compliance with ADA. So if you require assistance in participating at a public meeting due to a disability as defined under ADA, reasonable assistance, adaptations, or accommodations will be provided upon request. Please contact the city secretary's office. It was at least 3 days prior to the scheduled meeting at 930-3652 or City Hall at 808 Martin Luther King Jr. Street for additional information. And then we'll move on to the regular session, item A, which is discussion on how the Housing Advisory Board virtual conference will be conducted.
Hi, everybody. Hope everybody is having a good day today. You guys have done enough of these meetings now. So what I'd like to say is just a quick reminder, if when you speak, if you can please share your name, and I'm sorry, I forgot to do that. Sophia Nelson, Planning Director, both for the minutes as well as just for in case someone does not have their screen on and cannot see video, they know who is speaking. In addition, we ask you to keep your mic muted until you do speak in order to preserve the quality of sound. If we have any attendees that would like to speak on an item, I don't think anybody's here except for the commission itself. We ask them to just raise their hand or type their name into the chat in order to be acknowledged by the chair when the time is right for public comment. Nat and I are here to support from a technical end, and if we can do anything for you, if you lose connection, please give us a call and we can help reconnect you back into the meeting. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Nikki Brennan, acting as chair since Lou is gone. We're moving, there is no public, nobody signed up for public speaking, so we'll move on to legislative regular agenda. Consideration and possible action to approve the minutes from October 19th, 2020. Do we have a motion? Discussion?
Sorry, I move that we accept the minutes of October 19th, 2020.
So
Linda
I'll second that.
Linda and Wendy. Seconded?
Wendy Cash. I'll second that.
So we have a motion and vote. I guess raise your hands or say yes. Okay, you can't see me, but I said yes. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0. Okay, minutes are approved. Then we're moving on to item D of legislative regular agenda, presentation and discussion on neighborhood association programs. Susan?
Thank you, Nikki. I will share my screen here on the neighborhood association programs. Give me 1 second.
Oh, there's only, how many is there? There's 1, 2, 3, 5 of us. Not including staff.
Perfect. So let me know when you are seeing this PDF of the neighborhood association programs.
We see it.
Okay, great. So this is really a follow-up from last month where we started talking about neighborhood associations, and the background is that we in the 2030 plan update identified an action step to assist neighborhoods that aren't currently organized that would like to organize and seeing a place to kind of assist with that creation of neighborhood associations. And so we want to follow up from some of the questions that the board had, and then look at maybe a potential pilot program to kind of move this item along. So what we're going to ask you after we look at the pilot program is, do you have any recommendations or concerns about it? And so some of the questions we had at the October Housing Advisory Board meeting was about, what does outreach to the board recommended some neighborhoods, and what does that outreach look like? And we'll give you kind of an update on some of the outreach we were able to do since then. We had the question about, is there an opportunity to learn from established neighborhood associations on their best practices? I worked on clarifying some of the website language based on some board recommendations about the benefits of neighborhood associations. And then we researched how renters can be involved with neighborhood associations. So we'll look at each of those items. On the neighborhood outreach, I talked to really 2 neighborhoods, and just even with the 2 neighborhoods, what I found out was that there's different needs and levels of assistance kind of expressed, and probably will be kind of depending on the age of the neighborhood, kind of the makeup of the neighborhood, and sort of what structure the neighborhood already has in place, and sort of the conditions of the neighborhood. So for example, I spoke to some representatives from the Ridge neighborhood here close to downtown, and found that some of the representatives there felt like they think the city can play a role in assisting with forming an association, but because we're in the process of forming a small area plan, they'd really like to wait and hear what professional advice from a consultant that we hire might be around organizing. And so then I had a good discussion with Chuck from the South, kind of wearing his Southeast Georgetown Community Council hat on. He had recommended maybe his neighborhood of the Georgian be, they don't currently have an organization. So we kind of talked through what that looks like, and the needs in that neighborhood are different than the needs that were kind of expressed in the Ridge neighborhood. And then we talked a little bit about what it would look like to assist the San Jose neighborhood, which is another neighborhood that we've talked to you about. And they don't currently have an organization, but think that they'd benefit from having a more organized way to communicate and get communication from the city, and sign up for some of the things that the city has mechanisms for neighborhood associations currently, including our notification and also our quarterly meetings with our city manager's office and our communication team. And so another thing that Chuck and I discussed, and I'll let him speak to this too if he wants, is for those neighborhoods that are being helped by the Southeast Georgetown Community Council, it seems like there's an opportunity for the city to partner with SEGCC and what that assistance might look like in helping neighborhoods in those areas. And so is there anything you wanted to add, Chuck, kind of from the discussion we had?
No, just that it's that we were talking through it, and we don't quite know what that looks like yet.
Yeah, and so kind of this presentation, I was joking with Nat before we started the meeting. It's a little bit of a work in progress. So I appreciate you guys kind of being patient as we're working through some of this, but your input is really helpful as we kind of move this action item along. And so on the question about learning from established associations, there will be a neighborhood roundtable on December 10th. And the communications team asked that I speak for a few minutes to some of the neighborhood association representatives that attend that meeting, and ask them if they would be interested in presenting kind of their best practices at the first meeting in Q1 of next year. And so at this last meeting, quarterly neighborhood roundtable, we'll sort of ask for anybody who would like to talk about their best practices, and then we'll do that in the first quarter of the year, and maybe have the opportunity to kind of learn from some current neighborhood associations that aren't homeowners associations, and sort of that distinction. In the first quarter, Chuck and I kind of floated around, like maybe we could even possibly record that so that then if people aren't able to attend, we can, as we're talking to neighborhoods who are interested, maybe they'd have that as a resource, and what do those resources look like. So that's where we are with that. This is some of the language on the website that we had around benefits of neighborhood associations, and when looking at that language, some of it was repetitive and not very specific. And so one of the recommendations from the October meeting was to kind of spell out, like when we say providing an effective communication link with the city of Georgetown, kind of give examples of that, which is the two current things that we have as a city. If you're going to register with the city as a neighborhood association, we currently have these neighborhood roundtables quarterly. And we currently have this land use change notification system. And so if you guys have any feedback on, I think we also talked about putting on the website the difference between the homeowners association and the neighborhood association, making that clear. But I'll be updating this language and adding that clarification. And if anyone has a recommendation for more information that would be helpful, we can add that too. On the renter side, kind of what I found out, I'm subscribed to a lot of newsletter type things around multifamily development in general. In Texas, they kind of have some what's like a Biz Now newsletter and some other things about what are trends in Texas. And two things that I have found interesting in some of those communications. One was as neighborhoods see more renters, the kind of the best practice and what people are encouraging neighborhoods to do is to get those renters to participate in the voluntary associations and to not exclude them. They think that that can just help with what the association is trying to accomplish. In Plano, they have a mechanism for apartments to register as a neighborhood in the same way that single family neighborhoods do. And then they're able to receive that same communication and also access to any programs that the city has set up. And so really, I think the question we had in October was, can renters participate? And the answer is definitely in these voluntary associations, there's an opportunity for renters to have a seat at the table and get that same communication. I did want to point out that our communications team has created a resource for how to start a neighborhood association that will be placed on our website. It talks about what is a neighborhood association, those initial steps, and ways to formalize it, and then frequently asked questions. Something we talked about at the October meeting was that for some neighborhoods, this might be enough information. Like if they're already familiar with the city and they can come to the website and just need kind of a quick how-to, this could be sufficient, but for other neighborhoods, this is not nearly enough information to kind of make progress on the neighborhood association. But it is a resource that we have, and that's been created and will be on our website. So that brings us to kind of what a potential pilot program might look like for neighborhoods that need more assistance or would like more assistance. And we think that a pilot program could assist with outreach to residents. The city, we have a great database of addresses and lots of maps of our city. And so we can pretty easily get a list together of, if we have certain boundaries, we can kind of get an address list and a contact list in order to do door hangers, which is something we've done kind of recently, or we can try to target a neighborhood through their utility billing. Some people sign up for online billing, so we could look into those possibilities. And the second thing is sort of the big thing, and that's something when I was talking to the Ridge is what they're most concerned about is sort of organizing with a purpose and a mission and a structure. And not all neighborhoods are going to have the resources to to put those things together to kind of say, what is our organization going to do? What is it not going to do? And so on the third thing, to provide the example bylaws or the rules that a neighborhood agrees to for their organization. These things include kind of the meeting times and the duties of the board. One thing that Chuck helped me appreciate during our meeting is the value of accessible language. And so when we're using words like bylaws, that might be intimidating to the average person or the average resident. And so thinking about when we're doing some of this outreach is how can we make things really accessible to neighbors and residents. The city can then definitely assist with the registration process. And then we do want to kind of look into more of what a partnership with the Southeast Georgetown Community Council in neighborhoods that they are serving looks like, and how we can strengthen that and kind of work to assist these neighborhoods that do want to work on their mission and structure and roles. And so this is sort of our working outline of a pilot program that we would like to. We've thought about 2 neighborhoods, and Nat can kind of speak to the San Jose neighborhood that we've been working on. A city staff and Chuck's also have been working on this. So
I would just like to, clarify number 5 for a minute. When me and Susan were talking, what we were saying, basically what we're saying, I use the analogy of an aircraft carrier, right? So the city is big, it's got a lot of departments, it has rules, it has, as we were discussing, the staff has a lot of bosses, which I'm sure Matt will agree with as well. Whereas I just have a small board, which means that there's some things that may take a while for the city to do, or may have to go through a bunch of hoops, like say, having a tent out with fajitas and talking about it, or doing some kind of promotional stuff. It's probably easier for me to get it done through SCGCC than it might be for the city. So when there's things like that, that's kind of what I'm offering, right? So it's that kind of a partnership, as opposed to directing any particular language on something or anything like that. That's more for this group. I just wanted to clarify.
thank you for that. That's good.
And I can offer just, and Mary's been part of those calls too, about the San Jose neighborhood in Southeast Georgetown. Some of the things we talked about overall with the neighborhood is not knowing what services are available or how to navigate through those services kind of as a neighborhood. The individuals in the neighborhood, but then using the neighborhood association to share that information. That's one of the things that San Jose has said that they could benefit from, is having direct communication with the city and having a mechanism to share their input back to the city. One of the things we've been talking about San Jose is just given the size of the neighborhood, given that there are about 111 properties in that neighborhood, and we're working very directly with them on this neighborhood plan, is that an opportunity to also help formalize the neighborhood association? And is that the right time to do that work? So I think Susan's going to share with you a little bit about the next steps in the neighborhood association, but just some of our thinking about why San Jose might be a good pilot. We'd like to take the next step, which is to really talk with San Jose and see if they're interested.
And so really at this time, we kind of want to get the board's feedback on if there's recommendations or concerns for a potential pilot program. There's someone just came to the planning office, if you excuse me for 1 second. But Nat, if you could kind of get the recommendations or concerns.
Sure. Are there, as you've heard, as we've kind of gone through what the feedback was last time about common language, about being very clear about what this can do for a neighborhood, the last meeting you guys shared that you shared some neighborhoods that you thought might be a good start. Are there any questions or concerns about building this pilot program in terms of the language or clarifying what the neighborhood association can do and can't do? Any pitfalls that y'all see if we start moving forward with building a pilot program?
So when Susan and I talked, one of the things we talked about is how few people you would need to get something like that going. I think we said basically three or four, if I remember correctly, Susan. And then working with those people to kind of expand it out. So it's kind of, when I used to work for IBM, when they were doing sales, they called it penetrate and radiate, right? You get 3 or 4 people that would really be with something like this. And then you work with them to get them to spread it to the rest of the neighborhood. But I think we're thinking, at least I was thinking in those terms.
This is Linda, and I was just thinking that the biggest benefit actually from starting the pilot project is to find out where those pitfalls and issues are in that process. So for the next time, we're much better prepared to, if we're putting it out to groups that won't have that closer connection of working with Chuck and Susan together, we can alleviate some of those things because y'all have had to solve those problems already as you've done the pilot. You've had to figure it out.
Yeah, we get to fail.
You're the guinea pigs. It'll be great.
And speaking of that, and Mary do we want to go through San Jose because that might be the one that fails? I think
would it
fails
fail?
is agreement.
Why would it fail?
Well, no, just if we make a mistake or something like that. We're learning from a pilot program, right? So I'm not sure how the community would feel if we really mess it up. I don't think we will, but is there be any kind of sensitivity to that?
Well, if you fail, yeah, it's going to be sensitive because you're talking from to a community that has been underserved for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we have to be careful in this community. I'm even sometimes apprehensive of, when I go out and talk to people, what I say and how I say it. Because they're, even though I've lived here all my life, the people that live on my street are the ones that know me. People that live on maybe Pine Street or on San Jose Street, they know of me. So that's why I'm saying this is, I'm sometimes apprehensive, and I'm gonna move slow, not to push, too fast. But I think that having people that are already here and, just they know of you, that's a start. I really would hate to see it fail, but I mean, we have to try somewhere. One question, I have a question. Has any other than Track Ridge, Georgian, San Jose, has any other area of the city? I mean, basically, Old Town has their neighborhood association for a long time, but has anybody else come forward? I don't know, people that live maybe in Main Street or just any other area in this southeast quadrant?
Not that I know of. Do you know of anyone who's?
No, I was just going to ask, Parkview Estates isn't really southeast. It's kind of northeast of the park. But
Okay.
I don't know, Susan, if they already had an HOA established or not, but they are participating.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
they have a
talking
group.
more about the older neighborhoods, like Quail Valley doesn't have a neighborhood association, but has had, I don't know if we need to, I guess, inform or we're just gonna start with San Jose and Georgian and Track Ridge.
Sorry, can you hear me, or is the vacuuming too loud? It's not a neighborhood association, but there's a neighborhood watch out by the Gethsemane area, those older homes. So that might be a group, at least that's already formed, right? That might be interested in branching it out more than just police matters. That's the only other one I know of.
All right. No, I'm just being curious.
Wendy, did you have something to add?
I would just positive. I think that you guys have done a really good job of being thoughtful and planning out the pilot study. I think it looks very promising, and I don't have any concerns. I think I'm excited to see how it unfolds.
Great, thank you. I see Grayson's joined us. Were you, I'm not sure exactly when, and so did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, kind of the same as Wendy. Looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. I think it'll definitely be a benefit to Georgetown and all these communities. So, yeah, really appreciate all the work you guys have put into this. I know it's a lot, and not everyone realizes how much work goes into putting this stuff together. So, thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I was talking to Nat and Sophia. We're doing a few things somewhat concurrently with neighborhoods, and so I'm not sure when we'll bring back information again to the board, kind of like on the status of it, but I know we'll want to get through that. I can send out information if you guys have any interest in tuning in with the neighborhood quarterly meetings or anything like that, and we'll kind of want to see if we do get feedback. But after that December 10th meeting, we can send out an email to let you know, like, oh, this neighborhood said that they would like to share kind of some of the things that worked for them at that Q1, and then let you guys know when that quarterly one meeting is, since we're not having a December Housing Advisory Board meeting. And so the next steps are a little bit, because of that, they're not as well defined as we try to typically lay out. But I think what we're going to do, one of the things we'll get into in this next item about the small area plans and the responses we just got today from consultants on that work, is continue to talk to a few of these neighborhoods and see if we can kind of get more definition around starting a pilot program. And then as we move forward, we'll be bringing information back to the board about how it's going. And then if we think it's a good idea to kind of formalize it or provide more resources. But I think that's, if no one has any other questions or concerns, I think that's all we have on this item.
Okay, so moving on to item E, which is presentation discussion of planning activities for the San Jose and Track Ridge neighborhood. Great,
I will stop sharing that one and then share this, and this, Nat and I will kind of talk about this together. If I can get it pulled up here. And then this is pretty short as well. Okay, here we go. One. Okay, is everyone seeing the small area plan update?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So this, we had a council workshop that I think we gave you guys information at the October meeting, and then we'll go over the request for proposal schedule that we have and some of the next steps. So at that October 13th meeting, I think we shared with you, the council said release the request for proposals and come back with firmer cost estimates. And so we did release our last Housing Advisory Board meeting was shortly, I think it might have been October 19th. And we released the RFP at the end of that week on October 23rd. We had a pre-proposal meeting with consultants on November 4th, answered some questions, and then the proposal closing date was today at 2. And so we got responses back, and we'll be reviewing those this week. And then what we're going to take to the council will be kind of what the consultant said it will take to meet those community objectives that we came up with from the outreach that we did. And we'll present that at that December 8th council workshop. After that, when we get some direction about the funding for the project, we'll do interviews with the finalists and make an award in January, hopefully making that first or second meeting in January for council. So really our next steps is just to go to that December 8th council workshop. So Nat, did you want to add anything?
I just add that we are communicating with the 2 neighborhoods still. So it's our intention to have another meeting with them before the 8th, just to lay out that presentation and make sure that they have all the access to the information and understand how to participate in that council meeting if they want to. And between now and the 8th, we're really kind of we're going to be reviewing those proposals. So looking at the firms that submitted, and really, as Susan mentioned, kind of answering 2 questions. Did those people who submitted, do they have the right skills to meet these objectives that each neighborhood laid out? And then can they do it in a way that can be, what is it going to cost to do that, so that we can then present that to the council and get their direction? Susan, I don't think we can share with you who proposed, but looking at the names, there are some national firms in there, and some that we are familiar with just from working in the Texas and the national marketplace in terms of the different firms that we do recognize.
How many proposals did you get?
I believe it's 8.
Okay. So that's a good variety.
It's not bad. I think I'm trying to remember with her 2030 plan with the comprehensive plan, which was a defined budget. So also some of these firms, we didn't give them a defined budget. So I think with 2030, we got 5 and interviewed 3.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So 8 is I think it's a good number.
Mm-hmm. So we'll keep you updated as we move through that process as well.
And then I guess lastly, just so what we did ask the neighborhood San Jose, we asked if they wanted to participate in this process. And so what we can allow legally as a good practice of the city is for the San Jose folks who want to participate from that leadership group, they can listen in on the interviews, which will be after we get the budget from council, and they can share with us what they heard and what their concerns are, or what they think, just give us their feedback. And we'll be taking that feedback from San Jose, and we'd like to offer the same thing with TRG, and Susan's working on that with them.
That's right. So does anyone have any questions or about that process?
I think it's wonderful that they're going to be able to listen in on the interviews, because that's such a huge buy-in. If their community feels actively participating in that process, the city's not doing it to them. They're part of that whole thing, which I think is huge. So that's a really good idea.
Thank you.
I guess the other question that we're kind of looking at when we go through this is, what skills does the neighborhood have that can also contribute to this? If they want to participate and they want to contribute to the planning effort, how do we balance the skills the neighborhood has with what the consultant has, with what the staff can do? And how are we bringing all those things to bear? The other thing we're doing is asking this question about if there are kind of if there are community support groups out there that can help either raise awareness of the planning effort or help with the neighborhoods themselves with building capacity. You know, if the neighborhood wants to achieve something in this plan, are there organizations that can also stick with that neighborhood after the plan is complete or during the planning process? And then what's the best fit for somebody who's going to bring all the parties together? Because there's going to be times where we're going to have to really discuss some hard things about what the city can and can't do, what the neighborhood can and can't do, and what the consultant can or can't do, and how do we get past some of those sticking points. So we're looking around to see, you know, who all we can invite to be a participant and how can they contribute to this process, not just the city. An example of that would be any of the nonprofits that work in the Georgetown community, or if there are any outside resources like the TRG was asking us, you know, how familiar we were with the work of UT down in East Austin in their work. And so are there other resources that we can also bring outside of just consultants?
So we'll be working on that. And so that first meeting in January of the Housing Advisory Board will be make sure that we give updates on all this work, but that's kind of what we're up to. So definitely let us know if you think of anything or have any questions during that time. And feel free to email or call us. And tune into the December 8th workshop. And so I think this was kind of a short meeting, just kind of an informational status update. But I think that's the end of that item too, Nikki.
Okay, so we just have adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn. Wendy Cash.
Second?
I'll second, yeah.
Okay, Chuck Collins second, and meetings.
And never apologize for a short meeting.
Yeah, and it's 4:10.
All right, thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great holiday. And please let us know if you have any questions or concerns.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you. Bye.
Happy
Thank
Thanksgiving.
you. Bye-bye.